buttercup. You're a puppy dog. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so you guys wanted to know more about Wendy Williams and, her health and everything.
Yeah.
And so we're going to look at this recent article from FOX5DC.
Okay.
And it really focuses on some stuff that TMZ has been reporting about Wendy Williams and this whole thing about her guardianship.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely a sensitive topic, and I really want to be sure,
of course,
that we are, being sensitive and respectful as we discuss this.
Absolutely. I think that's really important. It's easy to get caught up in the headlines, especially with somebody as high profile and whose life has been so public as Wendy Williams. But, this is a real person with a family and dealing with very real challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think one of the things that really stood out in this article was this term early onset dementia.
Yeah.
And, they're saying that her guardian is claiming that she's permanently incapacitated because of this. And I think that's what's really striking to a lot of people, because we think of dementia as like, well, that's something that happens when you're
when you're older.
Elderly.
Yeah.
But this is
something different.
Yeah, it's not just a normal part of aging.
Yeah, dementia is basically this umbrella term for when you have, a decline in mental ability, and it's severe enough that it interferes with your daily life.
Right.
So early onset just means that you're seeing these symptoms before the age of 65.
So it's a very different thing.
It is a different thing, yeah.
And, they say that this impairment that she's dealing with is affecting her ability to make decisions.
Right.
And that's why the guardianship was put in place. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Guardianship is basically a legal mechanism to protect people who aren't able to make sound decisions for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you see it a lot in cases of, severe cognitive impairment.
Right.
And it's really all about making sure that the person's well-being and their safety are protected.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in the article, they go on to say that she's actually been diagnosed with both frontotemporal dementia and aphasia.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of people, those are terms that they might not be super familiar with.
Absolutely.
Can you break down what those two things mean?
Yeah, so frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, as it's often called, it's often confused with Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
But it's different in how it affects the brain. So Alzheimer's primarily, affects memory.
Right.
FTD affects the front and temporal lobes.
Okay.
And then those are the parts of your brain that control personality behavior language.
Wow.
So, it's really attacking the core of who you are, how you act, how you communicate.
Yeah. And so it's not just about memory loss. It's fundamentally changing.
It changes, how you interact.
Who you are as a person.
With the world, absolutely, yeah.
And then on top of that, aphasia.
And then you layer aphasia on top of that, which is a disorder that affects communication. So it can affect your speaking, your writing, even your understanding of language.
Wow.
And, you think about Wendy Williams, her whole career was built on communication, right? Being this, talk show host, being able to connect with people.
Yeah.
So to have that taken away, I can only imagine how isolating and frustrating that must be.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And it makes you think about celebrity in a whole new light because, Wendy Williams is always so outspoken. And now to think that this condition is attacking that very part of her personality.
It's really, I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about. We think about, dementia, we think about the memory loss and things like that. But this is really attacking her identity, her legacy, everything that she built.
It's true. And it really does make you think about, okay, what is dementia?
Right.
What are these conditions and how do they impact people?
Absolutely. And I think, this could also be a moment where we really see awareness of FTD rise because it often gets overshadowed by Alzheimer's. It's not something that people are as familiar with.
Right.
So I think Wendy Williams' case is really putting a spotlight on that.
Yeah, I hope so. And, they also mentioned in the article that she was recently spotted in public for the first time in over a year.
Yes.
And I think naturally people are curious.
Sure.
She's such a well-known figure. But it also makes you kind of step back and be like,
right.
Okay.
Where's the line?
Where's the line, when we're talking about celebrities and their health?
Yeah. It's a tough one because I think there is that inherent public interest.
Sure.
But at the same time, these are intensely personal struggles that people are going through. So it's really about finding that balance of respecting people's privacy while also acknowledging that, this is a public figure and people are interested.
So after doing this deep dive into this article, what are some of the key takeaways?
Well, I think the biggest one is just that Wendy Williams is facing, just incredibly difficult challenges with, early onset dementia and particularly FTD and aphasia. And that these conditions, they present just tremendous challenges to daily life, to communication, and that it really, emphasizes the need for us to have understanding and to support individuals and families who are dealing with these conditions.
Because it impacts more than just a person.
Absolutely. It ripples outwards. It affects their families, their communities, and I think, just society as a whole.
Yeah. Well, this has been a tough one.
It has.
But I think a really important deep dive
into
this topic. And, it makes you think about the person behind the headlines and the real impact that these conditions have on people's lives.
It does.
So I guess just to kind of wrap things up, I'm just curious, as we're learning more about, brain health and dementia and these types of conditions, how do you think that's going to affect the way that we view public figures who are facing these diagnoses?
That's a really good question. And I think it's something that we're all grappling with right now. I think, for a long time, there was a lot of stigma surrounding these conditions. And I think as we learn more about the brain, as we learn more about how these diseases work, I think we're going to see more compassion, more understanding.
Absolutely.
And hopefully less judgment for people who are going through these challenges.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Something to think about
for
all of us.
Yeah. It's an important conversation to have.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all next time.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.